Hi everyone, this is Srivatsa from Informatica Global Customer Support. Today I would be making a short presentation on data integration using ABAP, which is one of the components of PowerExchange for SAP Netweaver. So our agenda for the day for this presentation would be we'll go through data integration at file mode, then we'll go through data integration using stream mode, and then how to configure these sessions. Then I will walk you through the configuration steps, issues, and precautions that need to be taken. So let's start with the data integration and file mode. Data integration file mode, you start off by importing a data source using a type A or type B connection. Then you generate and install an ABAP program in a particular development class. Then you can add additional conditions to your ABAP program file that is generated, or you could use the program flow under the properties of the application source qualifier. Then you configure a session with an FTP connection, a SAP R3 connection. Then you provide the staging file directory. So let me provide a short demo on how this is done. So let's start off with importing a data source. So you select from import from SAP BW or import from SAP. These options would become available once you install the RFC SDK libraries that you can download from the SAP marketplace. Once those files are placed in the client/bin directory, and after you have registered the PowerExchange underscore SAP.reg file, these options would become available. So now select import from SAP, and then you can see the connect string that is specified here. It has lots of options. All these are type A and type B connections or destinations that are provided in the SAP RFC.ini file. So the client Power Center client by default tries to look for the SAP RFC.ini file from the location that is pointed to by RFC underscore ini environment variable. So if it is C drive Windows System 32, then that's where you need to put your SAP RFC.ini file. If RFC underscore ini environment variable points to C Windows SYSWOW64, then that is where you need to place your SAP RFC.ini file. Then connect to the SAP system and then import the data sources, and then select the data sources you want to import and then say add to import list. And then after clicking OK, all those data sources are available. So let's see the mapping, the SAM mapping that I have here. I imported a data source called Mara. So I have the source qualifier and the flat file target. So if you see in the source qualifier, I have something called the program flow in the properties. So this program flow gives me the option of adding any new ABAP block code, any new insert, any function I could insert, or any kind of static filter or join type that I want to give for the ports that I have. So all these could be specified here, and you could validate all the expressions that you're given here. So once that is done, your mapping is ready. So save the mapping. And now go to the mapping tab and select the option generate and install SAP R3 code. So you will see a window like this. You have different options in this. To connect an SAP system, this also uses the SAP RFC.ini file. So you have the option called program name, where you can use enable override and use namespace. If you don't want to use the program name generated by the system, then you could use enable override and use namespace and specify the program name and also the namespace under which you want to use it. Then you have the program mode below that. It is file mode or stream mode. For now, I select file mode. Then you have generate ABAP programs. So you can specify a path in which you want to generate the ABAP program file and select generate files. So once you connect, you will have the option of generating files and installing the ABAP program file. So I'll take you through a ABAP program file that I have generated. It usually generated as in the .ab4 format. So I have the ABAP program file where you can see that some of the information which will be stored in the Power Center repository database are also available. The column next to report is the program name. Then there is this form name and other information that could be used. You could also change the query that we submit to the SAP system. You could modify the select query and add the conditions that you would want. So once you are done with that, you could save this file and then move to the mapping designer. In the mapping designer, now you can select install from files. Now it will install the generated ABAP program file with the changes into the SAP system. Or you could do a direct installation, which would install the ABAP program file directly into the SAP system with whatever conditions that were saved when you save the mapping. So you need to take care of this development class. You need to create a development class in the SAP system and then generate all these ABAP programs under that development class so that when you have to migrate from dev to QA to prod, it would be easier to do that. And then there is column called program. There is a tab called program maintenance where you can view the file that we did now, the ABAP program file, and then you can see there is something called view program info. This view program info provides the same information that will get stored in the repository database under the OPV underscore program underscore info table. So it has the program name, the mapping name, and the type, file type. If it's installed in stream mode, it will say the type is stream. So if you want to generate a new program name, you have to uninstall this program by selecting it and say uninstall, or you could delete older mapping versions. So these are the options that are available here. Once that is done, you select the mapping and then say direct installation or install from files, and it will generate a program name and it will install the ABAP program with that program name. So now let's look at how to configure this session. So once your mapping is complete, you create a session for it, and then under the readers, you select SAP staging reader. And then under the connections, you have to give two connections. One is for connecting to the SAP system and run the ABAP extraction program to extract the data. Then there is this FTP connection, the connection to the staging directly, where the file would be downloaded. So now there are other properties that you need to specify. One is the stage file directory, which is the first property, then source file directory, then stage file name. Stage file directory is the directory to which SAP system, after running the ABAP extraction program, uploads the data to. You will have a file. The stage file name is the file name with which it creates the file and fills it with the data. The source file directory is the directory that we would use from PowerCenter integration service to read from. So if you have configured using file direct, both your stage file and source file directory might be the same. But there are NFS mount options too, where your stage file and source file directory could be different paths, but they might refer to the same directory location. So that's why you have these options. Then when you run the session, after completion of the session, the stage file is deleted. But in case you want to persist the stage file, there is an option called persist the stage file. So when you run this session now, it will create the file with the data that was extracted, and then it will keep it there and not delete it. From then onwards, the next time you run it, you can say reinitialize the stage file and run it, which would mean that in case there's a change in metadata, there is a change in data, it would reinitialize the stage file and then do the extra, and then PowerCenter integration service will run the session for you. So these are the different options that you have for the file mode. So now let's look at the stream mode operation. The stream mode operation is very identical to this file mode operation, except that in the program mode, you select stream mode, and then you can either generate file and install from files or do a direct installation. When you do a direct installation, it generates a different program name for this. And you can see in the view program info that there are two file types, stream and file, for the same mapping with different program names. So once that is done, you configure it for the streaming reader. So the streaming reader session configuration is pretty straightforward. You select SAP streaming reader under the readers, and then the connection is an SAP R3 connection. So once this is done, your streaming session could be run. So when you want to choose between a SAP staging reader or a streaming reader, there is a trade-off. You may want to see if your SAP system would be available at all the time. In that case, you can go ahead with the SAP streaming reader, and it would be faster for small data downloads. And if you are not sure about your SAP system availability, you may want to configure SAP staging reader, since it uploads and downloads it to a file, and then you can read it from there. Your SAP system may not be even available for us at that time. So you may want to decide, depending on your requirement, which one you want to use. So now let's go back and look at some of the configuration steps that I was mentioning, and some issues and precautions that we need to take. Okay, so data integration using stream mode was done, and now configuration steps. So when I was referring to the staging file directory, you may have to prefer the staging file directory properly. So you may want to refer to the accessing staging files for ABAP mapping section of your Power Center user guide. That would give a clear picture on how the staging file directory could be prepared. Then once the configuration on the Power Center side is complete, uh, you may want to make sure that you have all the SAP transports and programs run properly in the SAP system. So these two programs, YPMPRGSQ and YPMPARSQ, are two programs that have to be run in your SAP system. That YPMPRGSQ has to be run only once in the development environment. What these two programs do is they create a table. They create one table each, and one of the table a sequence number is stored. In another table, there will be two rows created when you run twice. One for the file mode program name generation, the other one for stream mode program generation. It will have the prefix for each mode of program file stored, and it will have a counter of its own, which it will increment every time you generate a web program for a new mapping. So you have to take care of these in different environments. Then some of the issues that people do face is when they generate a web program by connecting to different SAP systems for the same mapping. So if, as I mentioned earlier, since we refer to the repository database for getting the ABA program name, if you have different program names by connecting to different SAP system for the same type of uh, say file type, for the same file type you have different program names and a different SAP system, then we wouldn't be able to identify it properly. So that might result in error. So it's important that for a particular mapping, you connect to a particular SAP system and generate the ABAP program for it. In case you have migrated a new SAP system, then it's important that you regenerate these ABAP programs again. Now, there is one more limitation with regards to using CPIC streaming mode, that is SAP streaming reader. There is a limitation with regards to the password number characters you can use. You can take only 8 characters, and there are a number of limitations with regards to what characters could be used. So you may want to refer to the KVs that I have listed out here: 135362, 145451, and 140156. These KVs with issues related to the CP passwords. Then you may also want to refer to KV 141267, which talks about the staging directory permissions. I hope this presentation was useful to you. We would love to hear from you. Please do provide us your valuable comments in support videos at informatica.com. You could also tweet us at twitter.com/infosupport. Thank you.